Hello, this is Sal. In today's video, we will be talking about configuring the ASA basic settings and firewall. In this network, we have three routers. Router 1 connected to the ASA device in the middle, and we have router 2, 3 representing the internet. We have an outside office, and we have VLAN 1 inside, and the VLAN 3, the DMZ. Now we will be working on VLAN 1 and VLAN 2, and at the end of this video we'll be working on configuring VLAN 3. For now, PC 3 can ping the interface of router 1, the interface facing the ASA device on 209.165.200.225, and we received a reply for the ping. Now it still cannot ping this interface of ASA on Ethernet 0.0. We will be working on this together, showing you step by step. Now let me run a few show commands here. Show version, and here it's gonna tell us the version of this model. It's version 8.4, and we have and it is ASA 5505, 512 megabyte of RAM. And for this specific model, we there are maximum physical interfaces are 8, and we are limited only to 3 VLANs on this specific models, unlike other models. Why? Because we are using the base license. Now if we run the command show file system, enable and no password, show file system, it's showing us the file system here. And another show command, show flash, and here is the flash, and also show disk 0. This is how much we used, or they used on the disk, and how much of bytes are free. Now let's configure the ASA hostname. I will choose ASA, and you can choose whatever name you prefer. Here, configure terminal host name ASA. And now for the domain name, CCNA security.com, and I will enable the password, enable password of Cisco. You can still set the date and time, and it's not, but for now let's jump into the important stuff. Now next we will configure the VLAN 1, and this is inside, and VLAN 2 outside. But VLAN 3, the DMZ, we will configure it later on this lab. As now for VLAN 1 interface inside with IP address of 192.168.1.0/24, and the security level, the maximum, which is of 100. Now interface VLAN 1, name of the interface nameif inside, and the IP address of 192.168.1.1 255.255.255.0, and the security level, the highest of 100. Now VLAN 2 logical interface for the outside network of 209.165.200.224. This here and slash 29 at the security level of 0. Now interface VLAN 2, name of the interface nameif, outside, IP address of 209.165.200.226 for this interface on E00, 255.255.248, and the security level of 0 for VLAN 2 for outside. Now let's use these few show commands to display the status of the ASA interfaces. And here we can show interface IP brief. With iOS we will use show IP interface brief, but with the ASA, as you can see here for VLAN 1, this is the interface, and this is the interface for VLAN 2, and they are both up and up. Now show IP address for VLAN 1 inside, and this is the IP address, and for VLAN 2 outside, this is the IP address, and we configured both manually now. Now show switch VLAN here to display the inside and outside VLANs configured on the ASA, and to display the assigned ports. As you can see, for VLAN 1 is inside, and as you can see there are 7 ports, and for VLAN outside is just the Ethernet port 1 here, E00. Now from PC2, this guy here, we want to ping the inside interface address of 192.168.1.1. Ping 192.168.1.1, and it's successful. Now pinging outside interface of 209.165.200.226 should fail. This interface here, because as I said, we still need to do more configuration at 200.226. And it's failing. Now we will configure a static default route for the ASA for the outside interface, this guy here, to enable the ASA to reach external networks. Create a default route using the route command associated with the ASA outside interface, and point it to the router 1, this guy here, gig 000, IP address of 209.165.200.225 as a gateway of last resort. Here, let me shrink this a little bit and configure terminal. With the iOS, when we configure a router, it's IP route, but with the ASA it is route, and we want to route outside, and it's static route 000, 000, 0, and the last the address of the gateway by which the foreign network is reached, which is this guy here on gig 000, and the IP address of 209.165.200.225. Now we'll issue the command route command to verify the static default route in the ASA routing table. Here we show route, and showing us the static route of here, and it is going via the gateway of last resort on this interface. Now let's ping 10.1.1 10.1.1.1 from here ping 10.1.1.1, which is this side of the interface, and it should fail because we still need to work on this. But now from the ASA, let's ping it the same interface 10.1.1.1, and it can reach it after we configure the IP, the static route. Now let's create a network object inside net. We will name it inside net and assign attributes using subnet and NAT commands. Configure object network, or let's name it inside net. Subnet. Now we are configuring the whole subnet, the whole network here of 192.168.1.0, 192.168.1.0 with a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. Now we want the NAT inside to outside, and we have two options: dynamic, we will choose dynamic, and interface. End. Notice here that the ASA splits the configuration into the object portion that defines the network to be translated and the actual NAT command. They will appear in two different places in the running configuration. And let's run this command, show run. As you can see here, object, this is for the NAT, and here for the subject, which is the subnet, and they are in two places. Now let's ping router 1. We want to ping this side of router 1 at IP address 209.165.200.225. From this guy here, ping 209.165.200.225. We know it should fail, but I'm running this to show you because I want to run the command show NAT on the ASA device. Show NAT. It's showing us here that it translated and untranslated hits. Notice the pings were translated and the pings that they weren't. The outgoing pings were translated and sent to the destination. The returning echoes replies were blocked by the firewall policy. Now we will configure the default inspection policy to allow the ICMP or the ping. I'll let you know that Packet Tracer ASA does not have MPF, the modular policy framework policy map by default. So we will create it, and this will perform the inspection on inside to outside traffic. When we are done configuring it, only traffic initiated from the inside is allowed back into the outside interface. We will add the ICMP to the inspection list. Here we will create class map, policy map, and then service policy, and add the inspection of ICMP traffic to the policy map. Now let's create the class map. Configure terminal, class map, and I'll name it class with caps to make it easy. And we want this, we have an option for match. What do we want it to match? We want it to match, and our only option here to match the default inspection traffic default inspection traffic. Okay, so we created the class map, and we wanted to match the default inspection traffic. We will exit from here, and next the policy map, and we will name it policy map, and they want us to name it also with caps, policy. Now the class map we created is called class. Now the option here we have is to inspect. Inspect what? We want the ICMP. Exit from here, and now the service policy, we called it, or we named our policy as policy with caps, and we want this to cover a global. Enter the keyword to specify a global policy. Global. Now from PC2, attempt to ping the router 1 on the gig 000 from PC2 here. Ping 209.165.200.225, and we have a successful ping. Why? Because ICMP traffic is now being inspected and legitimate return traffic is being allowed. Now let's configure ASA as a DHCP server. We will configure a DHCP address pool to enable it on the ASA inside interface for this network here, interface VLAN 1. Configure terminal is there already. We are now DHCP address 192.168.1.52. This is the pool to 192.168.1.36. And where do you want it? For inside or outside? As we said, we want it for the inside, for VLAN 1, inside. Now we will enable DHCP within the ASA to listen to DHCP client's request on the enable interface for inside. Okay, now DHCP the enable it for who? For the interface or the network inside. Now let's change the for PC2. It's a static IP address. It's configured with a static IP address. We will configure it to a DHCP client, and it received an IP address of 192.168.1.5 from the ASA. Now it's time to configure the AAA to use a local database for authentication. We will create a user, and we'll name this user admin with a password of admin. Configure terminal, user name admin, and the password of admin. Now we will configure the AAA to use the local ASA database for SSH user authentication. AAA authentication for SSH only, not telnet, just SSH. And we need to here saying at the console specify this keyword to identify a server group for administrative authentication. Console and local. Now configuring a remote access to the ASA. The ASA can be configured to accept connection from a single host or a range of hosts on the inside or outside network. Now in this lab, hosts from the outside network can only use SSH to communicate with the ASA device. SSH sessions can be used to access the ASA from the inside also network. Now we want this guy here and this network here. This is for outside and this is inside. We will generate firstly here an RSA key pair, which is required to support SSH connections because the ASA device has RSA key already. Now we will enter no when prompted on the ASA crypto key generate RSA modulus 1024, and we just enabling it. We don't want to replace it, so we will hit no. We don't want to save. Now we need to configure ASA to allow SSH connections from any host on the inside network of 192.168.1.0 from this network here, and from the remote host, just this guy here by itself, on the outside network. So going back to ASA, and the commands goes like this: SSH, and here it wants the IP address of the inside network 192.168.1.0 with a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0, and this is for inside. It's given us two options. This is for the VLAN 1 inside, and SSH for 172.16.3.3 255.255.255.255. Why? Because just one host, and this is for outside. Now let us establish an SS session from PC3 from the outside to the ASA 209.165.200.226 on this side. So it goes link admin 209.165.200.226 and the password of admin enable here, and the password enable password of Cisco. So we were successful for the PC outside to establish an SSH connection to the ASA. Now let's see for inside for this PC here. SSH link admin 192.168.1.1 and the password of admin, the enable password of Cisco. Enable here and Cisco. There we go. Now it's about time for the DMZ to be configured. Let's configure it with the static NAT and access lists. We will configure the DMZ VLAN 3, which we have the public web server on this side. We will assign it an IP address of 192.168.2.1/24 and will name it DMZ and assign it a security level of 70 because the server does not need to initiate communication with the inside users, and we will make sure to disable forwarding to interface of VLAN 1. configure terminal is there already. Interface VLAN 3. IP address of 192.168.2.1 255.0. Now we'll enter this command: no forward interface VLAN 1. Nameif, name of the interface, DMZ security level of 70. Okay, now let us assign ASA physical interface Ethernet 02 to DMZ VLAN 3 and enable the interface. Exit here, interface E0/2, which is this interface here. Enter, switch port, access VLAN 3. Now let us run a few commands to verify what we did so far. We want to see after joining VLAN 3, the DMZ, what we did so far. Here, show interface IP brief. It's showing us the 3 VLANs. VLAN 1 with the IP address up and up, VLAN 2, and VLAN 3. And the other show command, show IP address, and it's showing us here the system, the built-in address is here for VLAN 1 inside, outside the DMZ, and this is what we did manually. And show switch VLAN, and showing us here the DMZ took the port Ethernet 02 for the outside VLAN 2 Ethernet 00, and the remaining ports, 6 ports for the inside for VLAN 1. Now let us need to configure static NAT to the DMZ server, and let us configure a network object named DMZ server and assign it the static IP address of the DMZ server of 192.168.2.3. And while in object definition mode, we will use the NAT command to specify that this object is used to translate a DMZ address to an outside address using NAT. And we will specify a public translated address of 209.165.200.227, specified within this range here. We have for this port 209.165.200.225, and this here 226, but to translate for the DMZ we will use the 227/29. Now let's go back to the ASA, and I'll shrink it a little bit. Configure terminal, object, network, name it DMZ server. Now we are configuring only a host. If we are configuring a whole network, it will be, the option is subnet, but it's a host of 192.168.2.3. Now we want to NAT DMZ to outside, and it's a static. The static, the IP address of within this range, 209.165.200.227. Exit. Now let us configure an access list to allow access to the DMZ server from the internet. We will configure a named access list DMZ out that would permit TCP protocol on port 80 from any external host to the internal IP address of the DMZ server, and then apply this access list to the ASA outside interface in the in direction. So go back to the DMZ, configure terminal access list. Let's name it DMZ out. We want to permit first ICMP any to the host of 192.168.2.3, another access list, and the same name DMZ out, permit TCP any host to 192.168.2.3 equal 80. Now let's apply it. Access group, sorry about that, access group DMZ out in interface outside. And so this basic configuration for ASA is done. We went through a lot in this lab, and I hope you learned something from this lab. I have a side note here. Unlike iOS access control list, the ASA access control list permit statement must permit access to the internal private DMZ address. External hosts access to the server using its public static NAT address. The ASA translates it to the internal host IP address and then applies the access control list. I hope you learned something from this video, and I hope I covered the basics in this lab for the ASA, and you will find everything step by step in the description in this video. Please, if you like it, subscribe to my channel and give me a thumb up, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. And please, if you have notes, something you want me to cover it with a video, please just let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day.